In July 1914, Britain sent a warning signal to the newly federated Commonwealth of Australia that war was imminent in Europe. Straight away, Australia's Prime Minister Joseph Cook responded, "If the old country is at war, so are we." The Great War, as it was known, was an unprecedented international catastrophe, with 30 countries at war, resulting in over 37 million military and civilian casualties. Over 10 million combatants died, plus some 7 million civilians. Countless millions were wounded. Australia, with a population of around 5 million, suffered heavy casualties, 62,000 deaths and 150,000 wounded. Australian soldiers came from all walks of life, from the city and from the country. Young men between 18 and 44 enlisted to the sound of the bugle. Recruiting marches wound their way from inland population centres and down to the capital cities. "Come and join us, do your patriotic duty," they shouted, calling themselves dungarees, kangaroos, wallabies, waratahs and the cooees.
"We're in the army now, we can't afford a cow. We live in a tent, we pay no rent, we're in the army now. We're in the army."
The recruits were trained, uniformed and farewelled to sail away to the very front line of war.
Goodbye, goodbye, wipe the tear, baby dear, from your eyes.
The most popular song of the time, popularised by the Australian singer Florrie Ford, was Goodbye. World War I was a frontline war where soldiers lived in near unbearable conditions, like rabbits down a hole. Trenches snaked their way across the war zones, enough to circle the globe 1.5 times. Barbed wire, a vicious weapon of war, poisonous tear gas and deafening bombs joined the never-ending gunfire as the two sides fought deadly battles for over 4 years. In 2015, 100 years on, Australia remembered its role in the ill-fated Gallipoli landing. Other centenaries, particularly the 1916 battles of the Somme and Fromelles, remind us of the futility of war and the senseless loss of life. The Aussies and the Kiwis of World War I were tenacious fighters and joined together as the Fighting Anzacs. History salutes them through their countless songs and stories. With little regard for authority, they performed their duty with a good measure of typical laconic Aussie humour. They often said, "We'd rather shoot than salute." Australian women also went to war. The Red Cross nurses were a vital part of the Great War story, affectionately referred to as the Roses of No Man's Land. A comment on their red and white uniforms, they held a special place in the heart of every soldier. Their service should never be forgotten. The war was eventually followed by peace, and the bodies of the dead were buried across Europe, many in unmarked graves. Leading up to the centenary of World War I, it became apparent that there are many types of war memorials existing in the area managed by the Rookwood General Cemeteries Reserve Trust. Young soldiers who died in training before seeing action, returned servicemen in family graves, as well as symbolic graves and monuments by families for soldiers killed or missing in action and those never found. Rookwood Cemetery is the only memorial many families ever had, not being able to go to France or Turkey to see the collective war memorials there. There's also a Jewish war grave section and a memorial to the Merchant Navy casualties. The New South Wales Garden of Remembrance, adjacent to the Sydney War Memorial, within the Rookwood necropolis, has currently over 73,000 plaques commemorating our Commonwealth War dead. The Flanders poppy has special significance for Australians. Worn on Remembrance Day, the 11th of November, these red poppies were among the first wildflowers to bloom across the devastated battlefields of northern France and Belgium. In soldiers' folklore, the vivid red of the poppy came from the blood of their comrades soaking the ground. In 2015, Rookwood Cemetery initiated the Anzac Centenary Campaign, a salute to the war dead with a daily placement of poppies on a commemorative fountain and on the anniversary of individual war graves. Another program throughout the cemetery, Remembering the Anzacs, reaches out to the community for stories, memories and photographs of family members lost in the Great War. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Rookwood will remember them.